Back with another episode of this series of these little interesting networking challenges. Today we're going to have a new source for our lab, and that is the Cisco CCNA In 60 Days book, which I've been reading by Paul Browning, Farai Tafa, Daniel Yorgi, and Dario Barinic. I'm using version 4, and it's been an excellent resource so far, so thank you very much to the authors of this book. So we are on, if you have the book and you can follow along, day 23, and this is the lab where we attempt to configure InterVLAN routing. So admittedly, I find this one a little intimidating because I haven't really been tested much on layer 3 switches, and the VLAN stuff is starting to make more sense, but when I first started studying for the CCNA, it didn't really make much sense at all. I understand it much more now, but basically when we talk about VLANs, we are compartmentalizing our network so that we control and configure what groups of hosts or groups of things on our network. We control how they communicate, which ones can talk to others, which ones cannot talk to others. And in order to be able to control that flow of data, we have to compartmentalize them, and we compartmentalize them in containers, for lack of a better term, called virtual local area networks, VLANs. And now, with a layer 3 switch, that's a switch that can perform IP routing. So typically switches operate at layer 2 of the OSI model, and they send frames. And so you would think of computers on the same network, on the same subnet. They can send frames and talk to one another at layer 2 via a standard switch, or layer 2 switch. But if they want to talk to hosts, computers in a different subnet, they need to either do that through a router or through a layer 3 switch. So this lab is about configuring a layer 3 switch to allow hosts in one VLAN to communicate with hosts in another. And so, because it's in this book, I can't really show it to you. I'm just like on the page 427 of the book, but it'll give us an opportunity to build a lab, which is kind of fun. So here in Packet Tracer, if we want to, first of all, find our switch. Oh, and I should say, there's a set of instructions for the lab. They say connect the host to a switch as above. Okay, so I see 2 hosts in one VLAN, VLAN 10, and 2 hosts in another VLAN, VLAN 20. You will need a layer 3 switch such as a 3550, 3560, 3570, or Packet Tracer. So I'm just going to go to the switches, and I see 3560. So that matches what was mentioned in the instructions, and this icon is sort of the standard icon for a layer 3 switch, I believe. Alright, now end devices. So I need 4 PCs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these PCs are going to be in VLAN 10, and these PCs are going to be in VLAN 20, and we'll configure everything to flow through so that PC in VLAN 10 can communicate over the switch and over layer 3 IP routing to get information to, say, for example, PC 3, which is in a different subnet and a different VLAN. So enabling InterVLAN routing. All right, so, or configuring, I should say, InterVLAN routing. I'm just going to do the auto connection type, but if you wanted to more manually do this, you would use a copper straight through fast Ethernet wire. In this case, I'll just do it that way. Alright, and then we would pick our ports. So fast Ethernet 01, and then again fast Ethernet 02. Then from here, fast Ethernet 03 and fast Ethernet 04. So from the switch's perspective, we're going to configure it so that fast Ethernet ports 1, I don't know why it does this. Anyway, so that fast Ethernet ports 1 and 2 are in VLAN 10, and fast Ethernet ports 3 and 4 are in VLAN 20, and then we configure that communication. So, all right, first things first, let's put the ports into the correct VLANs on the switch. So let's start there. So, would you like to enter initial configuration dialog? No. So I'm going to go to configuration mode, and the first thing I'm going to do is create our two VLANs. So I need to create VLAN 10 and I need to create VLAN 20. Alright, now those are created. Now I need to go in each of our interfaces. So let's first go into interface fast Ethernet 01. And let me see if I can move this over a bit so you can see both. Fast Ethernet 01, so we're configuring this interface, and we are, because it's an end host that's on the other side, we need to make it an access port. So we say switch port mode access to give that host access to this port, allow access to this port from an end host like that. And then to put that port into the correct VLAN, or the appropriate VLAN, we say switch port access VLAN, whichever VLAN we want to put that in. And remember, we said these two hosts are going to be in VLAN 10. So we'll say VLAN 10. And then we will say no shut to make sure the port is up, and exit that. Now I'll do the same thing, but as for interface fast Ethernet 02. So now we are configuring this port, fast Ethernet 02, and you can see this one is, I think, going through spanning tree. I don't know. It's booting up, for lack of a better term, and it's back. So now we're configuring fast Ethernet 02, so we need to make this switch port mode access, and we need to add it to VLAN 10. So we'll have two in VLAN 10. Then we say no shut, exit. So, okay, those are done. Now, fast Ethernet port 03 we need to do, and put it in VLAN 20. So interface fast Ethernet 03, and we'll call it switch port mode. What is happening? Mode access, switch port access VLAN 20. All right, and then no shut, exit, and then on interface, what is it? Interface fast Ethernet 04. Again, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 20. I just realized that I actually missed the first item in this lab. So I looked at this and saw put the ports into the correct VLANs, but right above it is add IP addresses for hosts inside the respective VLANs. All right, so that's okay. That's not a problem. Switch port access to VLAN 20, no shut. All right, so now I need to, so I've basically done step 2, put the ports for the switch fast Ethernet 1, 2, 3, and 4 into the correct VLANs, which is what we're doing on these steps like this. So ports 3 and 4 are in VLAN 20, ports 1 and 2 are in VLAN 10. All right, now the hosts need to have IP addresses in the respective VLANs, and so the top VLAN is 10.10.10.0/24. So that's the IP space. All right, so then that's fine. Config fast Ethernet. We need to give an IP address inside 10.10.10.0/24. So I'm just going to give it 10.10.10.10, and it's a /24. So I think packet tracer, when you use a 10 dot something, it defaults to the /8, because I think that was class C IP something something. I hope they don't ask that question on the test. I'm sure they will. All right, so that is that. So this PC0 is an IP address of 10.10.10.10/24. All right, so then I'm going to say for this guy, config, I don't even know, 10.10.10.20. 255 does 0. All right, so that is that. So that has an IP address. All right, now these two, I need to configure this one. So this is in a different VLAN, and it's got a subnet 10.20.20.0/24. So I'm going to call this one 10.20.20.10/24. That's 0 to the subnet mask representing a /24 subnet space. I don't know what the term is. And then this one. So this is going to be, no, not the default gateway. This is going to be 10.20.20.20 with a /24. All right, I think I'm almost done with step 2. All right, so they all have IP addresses. So add IP addresses for hosts inside the respective VLANs. Put the ports into the correct VLANs. All right, so then my question is, can PC0 ping PC3 right now? So what is PC3's IP address? On fast Ethernet 0, it's 10.20.20.20. So can PC0 here ping 10.20.20.20? So I'm in one subnet trying to ping another subnet. Is that going to work? Without any additional configuration, I'm going to think not. All right, as expected, yes. All right, so they cannot. So the next thing I think we need to do is what's next. Configure an SVI for VLAN 10. All right, so SVI I think is Switch Virtual Interface. Let me confirm that. I'm Googling it. SVI, a Switch Virtual Interface. So we need like a virtual interface for VLAN 10 and a virtual interface for VLAN 20. All right, so Switch Virtual Interface. I think we need to do exit, and I think we just need to say interface VLAN 10. And that'll go into interface configuration mode. You can actually see it already sort of brought up that line for the switch. So now I'm configuring VLAN 10. So for switch virtual interface, I just need to give it, looks like an IP address. So IP address, so this is going to VLAN 10, so this is the 10.10.10.1 IP address. The first available address 10/24 in the VLAN 10 subnet. And then I will say no shut. Exit. And then the same thing, interface VLAN 20. That's brought up. IP address. This is going to be 10.20.20.1/24. No shut. Exit. Alright, so that was steps 3 and 4. Configure an SVI for VLAN 10, 10.10.10.10.1/24, and item 4, or step 4, I guess I should say, not really step, like question 4, I don't know. Configure an SVI for VLAN 20, 10.20.20.1, 255.255.255.0. Okay, so that's done. Now, should they be able to ping each other? Can 0 ping 3? What did I say it was? Just press up, ping.10. So we set up the switch virtual interfaces. They have IP addresses, but as we can see, the host still can't ping across VLANs. I'm curious though if I can ping the other host in the same VLAN right now. That might be interesting. So this one is 10.10.10.20. I bet we can ping this one. Ping 10.10.10.20, and immediately yes. All right, so kind of cool, but this host can send IP layer 3 packets to the other host in the same VLAN, but it cannot yet send IP packets to hosts in different VLANs. I think then we need to follow step 5. So step 5 says set the default gateway on the hosts for the respective SVI addresses. So first of all, let's go in here and do exit, and we say show VLAN brief. And what does that show us? Okay, so it does show that we've got the active VLANs. So then now I want to say show IP interface brief, and I want to make sure that the VLANs have IP addresses and I can see what they are. So yes, VLAN 10 is up and has an IP address of 10.10.10.1. VLAN 20 is also up and has an IP address of 10.20.20.1. So the hosts in VLAN 10 will need default gateways of 10.10.10.1, and the hosts in VLAN 20 will need default gateways of 10.20.20.1, and then they should, I think, be able to speak to each other. So, default gateways. So 10.10.10.1 for this host, and that's to this path. It won't show, it's so annoying. Same, 10.10.10.1, and just bring this back up, and then 10.20.20.1 for these. Default gateway 10.20.20.1, and here 10.20.20.1. Alright, next up in the lab, test by pinging devices across the VLANs. Alright, so here's the moment of truth. Can I now ping PC3 from PC0? PC3 being in a separate VLAN, separate subnet. So InterVLAN routing. Can I route packets from one host in one VLAN to a host in another? 10.20.20. Here we go. So I would expect ARP to fire and then subsequent requests to work, but that is not what's happening. Sweet. Alright, so PC 0 has a default gateway of 10.10. This is so annoying. It's over here. And, okay, so piece is a default gateway to 10.10.10.1. Are the default gateways all correct? Gateway 10.10.10.1. Gateway 10.10.10.1. And this should be 10.20.21. Yes? 10.20.21. Alright, then they all have IP addresses, that's fine. This show VLAN brief. So just making sure that all of the ports are in the correct VLANs. 01 and 02 are in VLAN 10. 03 and 04 are in VLAN 20. Let me do... I think I just realized what it is. We need to, in order to allow, you need to enable globally layer 3 activity on the layer 3 switch. Alright, so we need to go to conf t, and I think it's going to be IP routing here. Enable IP routing. Routing, question mark. And there's nothing. So IP routing. Alright, maybe that was it. So now I want to try to ping 10.20.20.20 again. Okay, so let's see what this does. Alright, there we go. I think the ARP request and then successful replies. So, for the first time in this lab, one host in one VLAN is now communicating over a layer 3 switch to a host in another VLAN. The step, finally, step 7 in the lab is check the MAC address table on the switch. I think from here, we need to get back one, and we can say show MAC address table. So the address table of the switch has MAC addresses associated with VLANs 10 and 20, one at port 01 and one at port 04. Alright, so that's because the communication from the host attached to port 01 went across and communicated with port 04. So now I bet if we do the same thing from PC 1 to 2, two new addresses will get added to the MAC address table. So let's do that real quick. Alright, so PC 1 wants to ping PC 2. PC 2's address is 10.20.20.10. Alright, so this one needs to ping 10.20.20.10, and I would expect ARP to go through to add those addresses to the MAC address table for the first time, yep, as you're seeing, and then them to be there. So now I'm going to expect to have 4 entries in the MAC address table. So we've got the 2 entries on VLAN 10, the 2 entries on VLAN 11. And just to run the simulation, I did this last time. It's kind of cool to see. So ping 10.20.20. Alright, so then we can play it out or have it go to the next things. Just kind of see what... It's kind of fun to see the little diagram envelope thing go by. Alright, so several packets are, actually 5 specifically, packets are exchanged between the 2, and then we're done. So that, I think, is it. That was the Challenge Lab number 1 from, like I said, Cisco CCNA in 60 days. InterVLAN SVI Lab, switch virtual interfaces to allow communication across VLANs using a layer 3 switch. Everyone, hope you have a good day. I noticed this morning that I have 3 subscribers to this channel. You 3 are the true OGs if you're listening to this at this point. So thanks for your subscription. I think that's pretty cool, and I will be back soon with another one. All right, everybody, have a good night. Thank you.